What is going on, world? What's up, YouTube? It's Zero here. Today I'm bringing you guys a brand new episode of The 8 Below Show. Welcome everyone to 8 Below. Thanks for being here, guys, to the best entertainment-related show here on YouTube. And I'm super excited about our episode here today. We have a lot of stuff to talk about, so let's get into it. We've talked on the YouTube channel, guys, about Payday and this franchise as a whole, guys. The peaks, the valleys, everything in between. We've talked about it here on the YouTube channel, but what I wanted to talk about here in this segment of the show, guys, is about Payday 3. And as we do in a lot of our, segments of our show, one of the segments I love is and why it should exist. And in this one, obviously, we're featuring Payday 3, a game that obviously, guys, has not been announced, but it hasn't been denied either as far as like the rumors and the rumblings that a Payday 3 was going to be coming out at some point or another in the foreseeable future. Well, what I want to talk about, guys, is Payday 3 and why it should exist. So let's talk about it. So, guys, Payday is one of those franchises that I think, I really enjoy it. Let's put it that way. Just all in all, just so I can get that right out there, I've enjoyed Payday 2 quite a bit. I think it's a really cool concept. I love a lot of, whether we're talking all the different heists that you can do and just the different ways you can connect with this franchise, I enjoy it. Now, that being said, there's obviously things that, overkill and, things that they could have done better. There's things that they did wrong. There's things that they did right, though. And there's things that they can do better moving forward. And I think one of the big things, guys, at least for myself, is the simple fact that Payday 3, why this game should exist and why it should be the continuation in the Payday franchise is because when you look at Payday, this has a pretty exciting and big community, a community that is growing. I shouldn't say it's like a super large community, but it's a community that has been growing. It's been growing over time, and this community has been wanting, and the fan base as a whole has been wanting a continuation of Payday 3. And the big thing for me, guys, is not so much, why should this game exist? It's more like, why not? Why shouldn't this series exist in the grand landscape of shooters out there in gaming, right? I mean, this is a franchise that Overkill, as a developer, they've basically gone all in on, essentially, right? I mean, you can think of the other games that didn't do very well for them, like The Walking Dead, and we could go on a list of other games that they've tried and it didn't really work out. The one series that did work out for them, though, is Payday, and there's been, rumblings, like I said, rumors, that Payday 3 is going to be coming out here in the foreseeable future, that there is already, kind of a schedule as to when this game is going to come out, but Overkill has needed to get funding, and they've just, had some financial problems, and I think a lot of that really comes down to games like The Walking Dead not doing as well as they were expecting. And you would think that The Walking Dead, guys, because of how massive that franchise is as far as, the series that everyone watched on AMC, you would think that The Walking Dead would have done really well for Overkill, but it didn't. And part of me wonders if it was like the direction they went with, the color palettes or the graphics or just kind of the episodic series that they were kind of going after. It's hard to say what it was that made it not really do well. But we know that Payday has done well for Overkill, so this should be like the continuation. Because the worst thing, guys, is seeing developers start to really struggle, and then they have to, start cutting the employees that they have, and then they end up having to like shut down. And it's really unfortunate because, I mean, especially when you see a franchise like Payday that still, I don't believe, has hit its full potential. And I don't even think it's close because there's only been 2 games up to this point. I think that a third game would continue the legacy. It'd continue the lore of Payday. It would also, continue what they've kind of started here with the first couple of games. And I think at this point, guys, Overkill needs to understand that maybe just continuing Payday is their best course forward instead of trying other things on the side as well. maybe just focusing on Payday is their best course of action. And usually I don't say that for a lot of developers, guys. Most developers, I say, look, you need to diversify. You need to be making other games as well, so that if, say, your flagship, series starts to not do so well, you at least have backup plans. But in Overkill's standpoint, a company that's on the brink of, going bankrupt and basically going into non-existence, a limbo state, so to speak, I think that they need to be focused specifically on Payday. And that's why I believe Payday 3 should exist, guys. Not only because this would help Overkill get back, from in a financially good state, but also it would continue that legacy and continue the lore of the Payday franchise, which I think a lot of us really enjoy. And I'm not gonna, like I said earlier, this isn't like a huge fan base, right? But this is a fan base that has been growing over time. And I think a third game would really continue building upon what they started. And look, guys, there's been a lot of, in my opinion, there's been things that Overkill has done that I just don't agree with. Like the Payday Royale that they made as an April Fool's joke, that they were going to get into Battle Royale, which I just thought that was, why not get into Battle Royale? What's wrong with that? I mean, making a free-to-play Payday Royale kind of a style, and even like the concepts of what they were talking about in that Royale, in the Payday universe, I think would actually be kind of interesting to see. And that's just me personally. I'd love to hear what you guys would think about that. But I just think, all in all, whether you're talking about Payday Royale, whether you're talking about Payday 3, whatever it is, guys, I think there needs to be a continuation of this franchise, because there is a fan base here. There's a community built around this game, and it would not only help Overkill, I think it would help Overkill to do like a Battle Royale in the Payday universe, as well as Payday 3. I mean, what could it really hurt at the end of the day? If you're really just trying to monetize around Payday at this point, moving forward, you really should take advantage of that. Make a free Battle Royale game. Why not? Or just whatever it is, a free, Payday game, or whatever the case might be, guys. I think Overkill needs to take Payday, and that's the one IP that they build everything around. And then moving forward, if it starts to be like super successful for them, they can start moving into other games as well. But I think, guys, that there's a number of reasons why this game should exist, and I want to know from you all, why do you think Payday 3 should or should not exist? Let me know in the comment section below. And for more Payday 3 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. When it was announced years ago that there was going to be a continuation of Space Jam, I was extremely excited. Obviously, guys, just like many people out there, I was a little bit nervous myself as to maybe the direction that they would go in, and how is it going to live up to the hype of the very first Space Jam that came out. But I think, guys, knowing that, that it feels like it's in good hands. Obviously, we're talking years after the original Space Jam, and obviously, the original Space Jam, or the original movie of really any series out there, typically is the best. I think we can agree with most franchises out there. The first movie, there's something special about it. And then, of course, as the series goes, sometimes the series will get better. Sometimes, though, it just gets worse and it doesn't have that same charm as the first movie. Well, with Space Jam, guys, I love the direction that they are going in here with Space Jam: A New Legacy, which is going to be pretty much a new legacy within the Space Jam universe. LeBron James will be, of course, taking the helm in this one. And what I love is that they didn't call it Space Jam 2. They called it Space Jam: A New Legacy. And so I love the idea. I love the concept. Even though we don't know a lot about this movie so far, I'm extremely excited about it, to say the least. And I know a lot of people out there, feel, all the Michael Jordan fans out there are really upset that this movie is even getting made, because, LeBron and Michael Jordan, obviously the rivalry here between these two, mega superstars in basketball, is just continuing, the GOAT debates and such. And this will only, further that, even, continuing even further into the future. But I think it's a movie that deserves to come out, guys, and it's slated, guys, for July 16th of 2021. So where is this movie at this point? Well, there was a lot of rumor, guys, that it was going to come out a lot sooner. There was rumor that it was going to be pushed back even further due to the pandemic going on. And so the question now is, are they going to be able to stick to this date? Okay, so essentially, guys, Space Jam: A New Legacy, from what it sounds like, primarily the film has been primarily, completed at this point. There may be, some pickups, or they may have to go back and do some reshoots of certain, scenes and such. But all in all, it seems like it's pretty much underway as far as, post-production is concerned and such. And so that's really exciting that this is a movie that is definitely coming out in the foreseeable future, whether we're talking July 16th of 2021, maybe a little bit after that because of the pandemic. And what reason being, guys, even though the pandemic might be slowing down slightly, the thing is that so many movies have already been pushed back from their original release dates because of the pandemic, which is creating a lot of competition in the film industry. So you got to wonder, Space Jam's going to want to kind of sit by itself, and I don't know, the summer of 2021 might get really, really crowded. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But this is a movie, guys, I do believe that is going to be, it's going to be coming out, right? It may be pushed back once again because of the pandemic, especially if there's a resurgence that comes back. It very well might be pushed back. So don't hold your breath, or kind of take it with a pinch of salt, being that July 16, 2021 release date. I'm very excited about this movie, guys, and I've been very vocal about it. Look, I'm a huge LeBron fan. I've always, the Cleveland Cavaliers, guys, have been, pretty much my childhood, team when it comes to the NBA. And so when he was drafted there, I've been a huge LeBron fan. I've followed his career, and he always said that he wanted to make a Space Jam because Michael Jordan was kind of a guy that he looked up to. And so it's very exciting to me to see that it's this new legacy, and that's exactly what it is. LeBron is not Michael Jordan, and I think this just continues to solidify that. It shows that these two guys, even though they are alike in certain areas, they're vastly different, whether we're talking play styles or we're talking even from an acting perspective. I do think that LeBron, guys, might be a little bit better of an actor than Michael Jordan. We'll kind of have to wait and see, just because LeBron has also played in other movies, that being like Trainwreck and such. So maybe he's had a little bit more, experience leading up to Space Jam: A New Legacy. But nonetheless, I'm going to be really excited to see this movie. And, guys, I would love to hear from all of you. With all the GOAT debate talk going on between pretty much every sport out there, right? The big one obviously being Michael Jordan versus LeBron James. Who do you guys got? Do you think that Space Jam: A New Legacy will actually be able to top the original Space Jam, or do you just think it's not possible? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. And for more Space Jam: A New Legacy content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. I've said this on a number of occasions, guys, that the real-time strategy genre has been one that really hasn't been focused on in quite some time. It's been a genre that I feel like has almost been forgotten about in the grand landscape of gaming as a whole. And I feel like it's really it's kind of sad to me, honestly, because obviously, guys, when I got into the whole gaming world, the real-time strategy genre was there, but I really didn't get into it until StarCraft 2. And when StarCraft 2 first came out, guys, I thought that there was something really special here. And for a number of years after that, the real-time strategy genre was pretty much the first real kind of genre that started to redefine esports as a whole. And I think, guys, that pretty much esports has to give all the credit in the world to the real-time strategy genre, because that's really where it started. And obviously other games that came out, whether we're talking MOBAs or we're talking about shooters that took it to the next level, certainly I would say that that's very true, that they did get to that next, they kind of took esports to the next level, but it was because of the real-time strategy genre is what built a foundation that started esports, and really started with StarCraft and kind of games like StarCraft in the RTS space that really built what was, what was to come in esports. And now, of course, so many other, genres are just kind of reaping the rewards of that. But with that, that's really a conversation for another day. What I want to talk about, though, guys, is the resurgence of the real-time strategy genre and what that could look like, and really what a StarCraft 3, what that could do for this genre as a whole. So in this segment of the show, guys, I want to talk about StarCraft 3 and everything that we want to see in this game. And when I say we, guys, I'm going to be mainly talking about myself, as well as a lot of you that have reached out to me telling me what you guys want to see in the game, whether that be on Reddit or social media. So let's talk about it. So guys, StarCraft 3, I have been one of those, I've been one of the community members in the StarCraft community, as well as a number of other communities, guys. If you guys have been, watched my YouTube channel, you know that I'm consistently talking about a number of different franchises out there of games that we want to see continuations of these franchises. Whether they have, we've seen continuations in the last couple of years or, almost decades in the case of StarCraft. We're talking, it's been a long time since we saw a new StarCraft game. Now, you could, of course, bring up Legacy of the Void, which came out, I believe, 2015. And, obviously, guys, that's been, hasn't been that long ago since we saw that last expansion. But even at that, though, we're in 2020 now, right? And so we're talking 10 years of StarCraft 2, which, look, I love the current state of StarCraft 2. I think it's great where the direction they're going in. And I think that, ESL and those guys taking the helm with StarCraft esports is fantastic. But that being said, a StarCraft 3, guys, would do a lot more. It would kind of rejuvenate this genre, in my personal opinion, because we all know that with everything good that came out of StarCraft, there was a lot of negative things that came out. Not a lot of people like to talk about it, but we talk about it here, guys, and that is, of course, look, the match-fixing scandal absolutely tarnished StarCraft 2 in a major way, and there's really no debate about it, guys. Look, it takes one thing to really hurt a franchise or to hurt a game or to hurt an esport. It takes one game to bring it right back to where it was, that being like on top or just being, a game that continues to grow. The esport continues to grow and such, and the fan base all in all. A lot of people are worried about a StarCraft 3 coming out. A lot of people just don't want to see that. They're afraid of the unknowns there. And at the end of the day, guys, a StarCraft 3, even if it wasn't good, you always will have StarCraft 2 and StarCraft 1. So always remember that. Now, as far as what we want, guys, number one, I want a StarCraft 3, but really, more than that, having a StarCraft 3 would be absolutely great. But I think that this universe in StarCraft so much is still unexplored. I'm not even talking about Jim Raynor and Kerrigan and such. I'm talking new characters, new planets, new, worlds to explore, guys, in the StarCraft universe. So in my opinion, having a brand new, narrative, or just rounding out a trilogy potentially, and then in like a StarCraft 4 or something along those lines, you could of course start introducing new characters, but at least having a trilogy here, whether that be with, Raynor, Kerrigan, however they would maybe bring some of these characters back, it's hard to say, but maybe having 3 games, of course, that would kind of round out that, or just go in a completely new direction, new characters, because I think we can all agree, guys, even though the story of StarCraft is really great, sometimes the execution from Blizzard wasn't always there and kind of seemed a little bit cheesy at times, so I think maybe taking a more serious approach moving into StarCraft 3 would maybe be a good idea on like some new planets and some new characters and such. I think would be really cool. Number 2. having more ways than one, guys, of, connecting with the franchise is obviously incredibly important. And we've talked on the YouTube channel, guys, about StarCraft Ghost. We've talked about, the StarCraft first-person shooter that was supposed to come out. Ghost was one of them. Then another one was in development, got canceled as well. So 2 StarCraft games got canceled, guys. First-person shooters. I'd like to see that. I just would. I'd like to see a first-person shooter StarCraft game. Now, would I want it to be StarCraft 3 per se? No. StarCraft was built on the RTS, in the RTS space. Keep it there. But maybe spin-offs, I think I would be okay with. Even a mobile game, I would be okay with that as long as you're giving me main, continuations of the story. So I'd like to see in a StarCraft 3, I would love to, potentially start, seeing, more ways to connect with this franchise. That being more co-op modes or, as far as the multiplayer is concerned, guys, I think that one thing that could really benefit StarCraft, even though the graphics have really, over time have dated very well and have just kind of aged in a great way, I still think that having, some updated graphics would be great. I think that having all 3 of the races, that being Protoss, Zerg, and Terran, would be really great as well. Continue that. But even adding a new race, a hybrid race, is more kind of like what's been in the back of my mind. We've talked about this on the YouTube channel before. Having a hybrid race would be something really interesting in my opinion. Simply because, guys, a hybrid race that would be like a hybrid between the Zerg and something where the Zerg almost forms into this hybrid race, or a hybrid race is completely separate, so there's 4 instead of 3 races. How complex would that get? Maybe it would get really complex. I don't know. But I think having some changing the formula a little bit, not completely, but changing things a little bit, I don't think ever hurt anyone, as far as, or really hurt any franchise in particular when you're slightly changing things, not making major changes. So I think this would be something that I think would be really cool. Having an added race would be something, or just, one of the races kind of changes somewhat into a new race, like a hybrid race, I think would be something that would be really cool. As far as, like other, multiplayer modes outside of the RTS space, I mean, maybe adding, a first-person shooter, like a free-to-play first-person shooter, or, a StarCraft Battle Royale, or something like that would be really, would be interested. I would definitely be interested to, hear more about that, whether that's like an add-on to StarCraft 3, whatever the case might be, guys. You may think that this is something that's going to split the community completely up into, the RTS, people are in that community, and then like the first person shooter community, and it's going to really tear the community apart. When in all reality, guys, something like this would actually help build it in a major way, because you're going to have people who love the RTS, space, but you also have people who love the first-person shooter space, so it's going to bring more eyeballs and more people into StarCraft. And at the end of the day, we all want to see StarCraft grow. So obviously, we don't want we don't want a StarCraft 3 to tarnish everything that's happened. But if you think about it, StarCraft 2, some of the things that happened in StarCraft 2, that being like the match-fixing scandal and such, tarnished the great name of StarCraft 2 for a long time, and people still think about it. Advertisers leaving the scene, teams withdrawing from tournaments and such, and not wanting anything to do with StarCraft 2. This would put a brand new, like a fresh start for StarCraft and StarCraft esports. And that's my personal opinion, guys. And so those are like the main things that I want. I want, like, if you were to ask me, Zero, what is it that you want exactly in a new StarCraft game or a StarCraft 3? I want to have a brand new, like, campaign that maybe is, happening during the time of Raynor and Kerrigan, but on a different planet. Have something like that. Follow like a Ghost, or follow, whatever it might be. Change the formula somewhat, as far as, or change like the environments and things of that nature. Number 2 would obviously be having more ways to connect with this franchise, more ways that I can play with my friends, and more co-op modes and such. Number 3 would obviously be adding a new race to the 3 races that are already here, either adding a 4th race or just making it merge into one of those other ones, making like a hybrid race. I think it would be really interesting to add 4 races. I mean, why not? Look at all the different characters that you can play as in League of Legends or, you know, some of these other games. Obviously, they're not real-time strategies, but I think having another race would be something pretty special. And then on top of that, guys, obviously the multiplayer scene, having those updated graphics, having, consistent variety of maps, which Blizzard does an incredible job with the map pools and such. I absolutely love them. I love how they just, they're changing up every season, and that's absolutely awesome as well. And then as far as the expansions and things of that nature go, I mean, I'm fine with having, expansions, but I would even love to, even more than expansions, I'd like to see like, a first-person shooter come out, maybe a free-to-play first-person shooter, or a free-to-play StarCraft Battle Royale. Even though people are starting to get sick of Battle Royales, I still think there could be something special with StarCraft if they were to go in that direction. A StarCraft mobile game. Guys, these are always, no matter what you think of a mobile game, even though a mobile game, not everyone loves mobile games, but at the end of the day, if you at least have more ways than one to connect with the franchise. So when you're not playing on your computer and you're sitting in your room, you can play on your, mobile device and continue playing StarCraft. It's just more ways to connect with the franchise. So at the end of the day, those are the things that I want. I know those are some of the things that you guys want as well. But if I didn't say something that you wanted, or you disagree with me completely on some of these things, let me know in the comment section below. I want to have a real conversation about it, guys. And for more StarCraft 3 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. You guys all know me as a Call of Duty guy, and I will, obviously, I will always be defending Call of Duty no matter what the moves are that they decide to make. I'll criticize when it's necessary the Call of Duty scene, but all in all, guys, you know that Call of Duty and Battlefield have been 2 franchises and really 2 fan bases and 2 communities that have been at each other's throats. It's like Star Wars versus Star Trek. It's Marvel versus DC. Battlefield and Call of Duty, it's almost like you can't like both of them. You have to love one of them and hate the other. And for some reason, guys, I'm just not that guy. I love all of these communities in a major way. Sure, Call of Duty, in my opinion, is one of the big 3. That being the 3 best franchises of all time. That being, of course, Gears of War, StarCraft, and Call of Duty. They're the big 3 in my opinion. But everybody's got their own big 3. So, that's the beautiful thing about being humans, guys. We can all have our own opinion. But what I want to talk about here is as much at each other's throats sometimes these 2 communities can be, Battlefield has a special place in my heart, guys. I still absolutely love this franchise, and I want nothing but the best for it moving forward, and I'll tell you why right now. So, guys, in this last segment of the show, I want to talk about Battlefield 6 and everything that we want in this game. And when I say we, guys, I'm mainly talking about myself, but I know some of you guys may share this, similar opinions. And if you don't, let me know in the comment section below what you guys want to see in Battlefield 6. So let's get right into it. So, guys, Battlefield 5. I finally finished the story missions of Battlefield 5. It took me a long time, but I finally was able to beat all of them a couple of months ago. And the story missions, guys, they do a fantastic job. I'm not going to lie. When I play Battlefield, and I played Battlefield 1, and these story missions they're very interesting. They're just like, they're different, right? You're playing what is, like historical events and such, and I think it's really interesting. I really love the concept of it. I do miss like a full-blown campaign, but the missions themselves are very interesting. Each one is different in its own way, and that's what I really like about what they've done with the last couple of, Battlefield games and the story missions. So, to start here, guys, with Battlefield 6, the first thing that I want to see them do is move in a direction of, okay, so they did, with Battlefield 1, that was World War 1, and then, of course, Battlefield 5 was World War 2. I want to see them go back into the future somewhat. Kind of be like a Battlefield 3, kind of moving us in the direction of the future, not going like Call of Duty did with jetpacks and things of that nature, but what I mean is going in the future somewhat. I think it's what everyone's ready for, because I'll never forget, with the Call of Duty and the Battlefield communities, one way that these worlds kind of merged was when Infinite Warfare was announced by Call of Duty, or of course by Activision and Infinity Ward. Infinite Warfare was a game that the Call of Duty community did not want at all. They were very, very upset that they were going into the, continuing the jetpack era with this game. And so a lot of people decided to jump onto Battlefield 1 because this was a game that was also getting announced the same time. And pretty much everybody from the Call of Duty scene jumped onto Battlefield 1 and absolutely had a great time with it. And then, of course, when Battlefield 5 came out, it was like vice versa. It was like all the Battlefield people decided to come to Call of Duty because Call of Duty was kind of getting back to its, the boots on the ground feel. Staying very grounded and kind of going futuristic with Black Ops 4. And so with Battlefield 5, a lot of people didn't want to play World War II or play, one of the World Wars again. They were much more so wanting to kind of play something a little more futuristic. And so they moved over to Call of Duty. And so it's very interesting how these two, even though both these fan bases have been at each other's throats, there's times where they kind of, they merge, right? And so now, where are we at? Well, we got Call of Duty with Modern Warfare. Fantastic title, in my opinion. The best campaign of the entire series, in my opinion. Warzone's awesome, and I just think that they've done a fantastic job overall with Modern Warfare. Now, that being said, with Battlefield, okay? Battlefield 5, I don't think by any stretch of imagination it was a bad game. I think that they actually, there were things that were wrong with it, obviously, at first, but then, of course, they're updating, and they started, bringing out some really great content, in my opinion, for the Battlefield 5 community. So, my second big thing, other than having like a full-blown campaign, I think it's really important to have a full-blown campaign, putting things into perspective, getting used to some of the new weapons in Battlefield 6. Hopefully, like I said, it's going to be in the future somewhat, either modern or futuristic. And so we can kind of get used to the weapons and kind of, the story. We got to get a new story and such going with Battlefield 6. My second biggest thing is one of the biggest reasons why I thought that Call of Duty was somewhat superior to Battlefield for a while was that Battlefield never really evolved to the Call of Duty standpoint where having maps in the multiplayer world that were much smaller, very small maps that you're fighting on. They did it to a degree, but overall, Battlefield has relatively larger maps as a whole. And so what I'd love to see them do is really make some very small maps, kind of like what Call of Duty does. You look at Call of Duty right now, they took some of the formula from what worked for Apex. They took some of the formula that worked from Battlefield. They took some of the things that worked from other games, made it their own, and there you have it. The biggest game in the world, year in and year out. And so I think what Battlefield needs to do is, they're specialists at the large maps and such in the multiplayer space. I think what they need to do now is make some smaller maps as well as some larger maps and kind of mix and match, right? I think Firestorm for Battlefield is great. I love the Battle Royale, mode. As far as Battle Royales as a whole, I'm not a huge fan of the genre, guys. I love Warzone. I mean, of course I love Fortnite and games like that. It just, some of them got so advanced as far as, the building aspects in Fortnite and, just all of those things got so advanced that it kind of, made it not as fun for just a casual, Battle Royale player like myself. That being said, though, I think Battlefield should definitely continue what they started with Firestorm. Whether that mean making a completely new map, most likely is what they would do. But definitely having Battle Royale, adding some, continuously adding more and more game modes, I think is really important as well. So adding that I think is really important, guys. Having a battle royale, having your multiplayer where you're having small and larger maps. You also, of course, are going to have, co-op modes, hopefully, multiple different co-op modes that I can, play with my friends. I think that's something that Battlefield needs to continue with evolving, is really adding more and more for people to do with their friends other than just the multiplayer aspect, having other things that you can do like Call of Duty does, like Spec Ops or Zombies, or, things of that nature that can really bring you back to the game over and over again. And so Battlefield, that being said, guys, I think that the next thing other than, Firestorm, having that full-blown campaign, I think is important. And then, the multiplayer modes, I definitely think it's important to have smaller maps, larger maps. I think that's really important. And look, I think at the end of the day, the vehicles are great, but I think having, some of the smaller maps with no vehicles, kind of like what Call of Duty does, I think that would be great. I really do. I think that you could really make some special types of game modes if you were to do that with Battlefield. But who knows? Maybe they don't want to go against, what's worked in the past. I just think that would be something. If I were, as far as, really engulfed into the Battlefield community, I would certainly want to see, them continue evolving over time. I think that's really important as well. And obviously, guys, Battlefield being an EA title, you don't really want to see the monetization schemes and things of that nature. I want to see more stuff that you earn. And I feel the same way with Call of Duty and all these other games. I want to see games where you got to earn stuff, and the things that you got to earn are like really cool items that makes you want to grind really hard. Like think about Halo and like Halo Reach, trying to get to Inheritor to get the skull helmet and such. Stuff like that, guys, were awesome. In Call of Duty, getting to the 10th prestige in Modern Warfare 2 and getting the gold medallion and such, those were things that you wanted to work really hard for. And they don't really have anything like that anymore in a lot of the games nowadays. And so I want them to get back to that, and I hope they do that in Battlefield. But we'll have to kind of wait and see as we get closer. But with that, guys, let me know what it is that you all want to see in Battlefield 6. Are they kind of similar things to what I'm saying, or are there completely other things that you guys want to see in the next continuation of the Battlefield franchise? Let me know in the comment section below. And for more Battlefield 6 content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. And with that being said, everyone, I hope you guys did enjoy this episode of the 8 Below Show. And if you guys did, leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, stay positive, and as always, I'll talk to you guys all in the next one. Peace.